Hey Harmonizers, welcome to this video of Timmy doing his first ever off-property experience. We went to Spruce Haven, which is a few hours away from where I'm located, and they were having a horse show. And I didn't enter my horses in the horse show, the Mustangs. I just did the schooling opportunity. So they had a trail class there, and this is Timmy schooling on the obstacles after the show was all done. So there's no horses around. He got the experience of being tied to the trailer, which I'll show you guys towards the end of the video, and he got to be around for the commotion of that. But I had Elon and Alicia out earlier in the day, so they were the ones that were kind of around during the commotion, and Timmy came out afterwards, which was actually, I think, a little bit harder because Elon was calling to him a little bit because everybody else had left, and Alicia was tied on the opposite side of the trailer of the boys, so he couldn't see her. So I think that added a little bit of stress. But this is a look at the obstacles they had set up, and this is actually Timmy's first ever back through. I haven't actually done one of these at home with him yet, so this is my first time doing one with him, and he was very willing. He wasn't scared of the poles or anything like that. Sometimes horses can be scared to go between things backwards, but he did a really good job. It wasn't smooth because he didn't know what we were doing, but he wasn't scared, and he's very willing to follow me through pretty much everything, going over some logs there, just speed up some of the footage here as we head over to kind of a step up, and then we're going to do the drop on the other side. And this is all footage of him doing it for the very first time. So this isn't after I've schooled him on it or anything. And it was a pretty intense day, not gonna lie. My first time getting two kids up in the morning. My husband helped with watching the girls while I got the Mustangs and everybody loaded, which I'll show you on the next video when I do Elon's video. And then getting out to where we were going, which was a couple-hour drive, and then we stopped for lunch, and it was chaotic with my 2-year-old. And I'll show you guys some footage of her at the end, how I was keeping her entertained along the way. And then coming out here and kind of timing the breastfeeding with working the horses. And so it was intense, but it was very much needed to get the horses out. That was a little before and after of Timmy going around the barrel there. He was kind of looking at the water, which is why it was a little bit choppy at first, but you can see he's smoothed out there. So it was busy, but the boys, their competitions are only about 4 weeks away, so we really have to get exposing them to things. And I was so impressed with how they did. They were little superstars. He had a little startle when I picked up that rope gate. I think because we have electric rope at our farm, so it was a little bit more scary potentially for him. So we just go through the obstacle a second time there just to make sure that he's nice and relaxed. And he did all of these just on the first try. And by the time I got to Timmy, it was pretty late in the day. It was already getting close to 7 o'clock at night, and it'd been a long day already. So I didn't have a ton of time to work with him, but I thought, we'll take him around, we'll do the obstacles. And I was pretty fortunate that he did pretty much everything on the first go. There was just a couple obstacles where I repeated them a second time or a third time to just make sure that he was relaxed. That one there had a bell that I rang. He was really good with the noise, didn't startle or anything. And I haven't done anything with noises yet, so that was pretty surprising, and I'm pretty happy with that. Here's one of the more narrow bridge there, which he just kind of comes off the side a little bit, and it's kind of crowding me. So I just kind of bump him over to say, hey, like, make sure you're not trying to walk on top of me. And I think it's because there's a fallen over number on the left side of the bridge there that you can kind of see on the ground. And I think he was just kind of looking at it a little bit funny and trying to avoid it, and ended up kind of coming on top of me. So there I just kind of block my space, offer him a little reward, and he's starting to call a little bit here. For the most part, he did pretty good. Here you can see he has a bit of a nervous poo. We're at the furthest point from the trailer at this point here. So we've gone really, really far from where Elon is and where Alicia is. And Elon was calling a little bit in the background, which didn't kind of help matters. So he's a little bit on edge, but overall still listening, still went up on the tire, which he'd never done before. And it was kind of like our big pedestal that we had at home, but he hadn't seen anything like that. He's just a little bit looking around. He didn't want to take my cookies, and I'm not sure if because they're a slightly different cookie that was in my trailer that I filled my pouch with rather than what he's just used to at home, or if it's because he's being a little bit nervous and calling a little bit, wondering what Elon's up to and stuff like that. But you can see he's just kind of looking around. Doesn't look super stressed, but because of that poo and him just having his head a little bit up, we know that he's feeling a little stressed. This is kind of a cool obstacle they had. This is a willow tree, and essentially we're walking through the willow tree. They've set up a couple standards so the horses have like a target to go between, and it's pretty thick willow tree brush that they're going through, and he did that pretty well. He hesitated a little bit, so we're just going to redo it a second time. And that's all I really do, is to make sure that they have a good note on the obstacles. If I need to redo it, then we just go through, but I didn't want to spend a ton of time and get stuck at anything since it was already getting pretty late in the day. And here's a little look at going over the bridge. They have multiple kind of ways to go in their water. It's such a beautifully landscaped area. So I thought, I'll take Timmy over to the water. I don't have a ton of time, but if he can sniff the water, then if he seems willing, I'll ask him to go over. And if not, then if he can kind of sniff it, then that would be pretty good. So here's some sped up footage of him kind of sniffing the water, and he was willing to drink the water. So I thought, well, let's try. I'm going to try to hide on the side of the landscaping here and ask him to kind of inch his way into the water. And he actually did really, really well. So he put his little feetsies in, and once he realized, yeah, it's water and it's pretty good ground, he went nicely across. So it was pretty awesome, pretty easy going. He's kind of looking at it there, but really, really well done. So I'm going to show you guys a couple clips at the trailer. This is Alicia on the opposite side. There's Elon there, and I'm bringing Timmy back. So he's pretty happy to be back over with Elon, who this was their first experience tying as well. So they hadn't tied before getting to the show. Apologies for the rocky footage there. And they both tied really, really well. Here's my parents that are watching Evelyn and the girls. They are superstar parents of mine, watching them so that way I could do some work with my horses. You're definitely not going to want to miss the video with Alicia because she was a total psychopath. So that video will be coming up later this week. And then just a couple little clips of my girls. This is Melina hanging out at the horse show, my mom in the background, and Evelyn got a tablet to watch Peppa Pig on the long drive there. So thanks for watching, guys.